Welcome back. This is a bonus video that will do a side-by-side comparison of using C++ as opposed to using Python. We have a problem that we are going to solve, and the problem is a rectangle problem of sorts because we have a toy manufacturer, and this manufacturer is going to use rectangular shapes to create trucks and cars. However, there has to be a validation process, and this is for quality control. In other words, the rectangles that are going to make the cars have to fall within a particular area specification, and the trucks as well have to fall within a particular area specification. So for the cars, the area must be within 20 and 40 centimeter, or that rectangle is going to be deemed as being invalid. And for the truck, it has to be between 80 and 100 centimeter, or once again, that rectangle is going to be deemed as being invalid. Obviously, this is purely fictitious, and we're just using it to demonstrate the concept of using OOP, object-oriented programming, to solve problems within this space. We also want to generate an interactive main program that will simulate the manufacturing process. And as part of the manufacturing process, we want to create these rectangles and to provide an indication as to whether or not it is valid. If it is valid, what is it valid for? Is it valid for creating a car, or is it valid for creating a truck? And in case it is not valid, then we want to indicate why it has been rejected. We will be using two screens so that we can compare what is happening in both cases. So we will have a screen here for C++, and we will have a screen for Python. So let's begin by fleshing out the basic C++ framework. We know that we are going to need the main. So we're going to have our IO stream. We're also going to be using the namespace std. And in case we need string, let's also include the string library. It's always great to start testing from early. So because I have included a namespace, I'm going to see if the hello world actually executes without prefixing the std before the cout command. And we have gotten the output that we anticipate. So it means that we're good to go in this regard. Now let's go over into the Python and set up our main program as well. So you should recall that in setting up this main program, it's underscore underscore name underscore underscore equal double quotes underscore underscore main underscore underscore, and we just want to print hello world here. Let's execute, and our main program is set up for Python as well. So we need a class that will represent a vehicle, because we're talking about trucks and cars. So we want to create one class that can represent either a truck or a car. So we're going to call that class name vehicle. And we are interested in generating the area of a rectangle. Therefore, we need to be capturing the length and the width of the rectangle so that the area can be computed. So we are back in C++. So that will be class vehicle, begin and end. Remember, there's a semicolon at the end. And in terms of defining our properties, we're going to put the private keyword and the properties that we are interested in, length, and let's initialize that to 5, and also width, and let's initialize that to 10. And that gives us the properties that we want for now. And in order to test, because we like to test often, we're going to create a public operation. It's going to be called show. Well, let's call it show details so that we can be consistent with what we have done in the past. It's going to be void because we do not want it to return anything. And then we're going to call it show details. So that's the method. And inside the method, we're going to have our output statements. So cout, let's say length, colon and a space. And then we want to display the content of the variable length or the property length. And let's do another cout. And this time for the cout, we want to have width. Colon, space. And this time it's going to be width. And just tidying up the programs. Now I'm going to need some new lines. So I'm going to place the new lines at the beginning. So new line for length, new line for width. And once we have our class, we can now test it in the main program. So remember, in order to create an object for a C++ program, we need to know the class name, which in this case is vehicle. Then we are going to create an object name, which we are going to call it V. And because we had created the variables, the properties, and we had initialized them to 5 and 10 respectively, then if we use the show details command, which is v.showDetails, and remember it's a method, so we need to have the parentheses at the end, and semicolon. And when we execute, all right, I have a few problems here. So get rid of the semicolon at the IO stream. And now we have an issue here with the cout. It was not declared in the scope. So I need to take all of these libraries and put them at the top of the program. So that the commands within them can be seen within the vehicle class. Or std needs the semicolon. And there we go. We have displayed the length, which is 5, and we have displayed the width, which is 10. So we have created the basic structure that we can start working from. for the vehicle class in C++. And we want to do something now similar in terms of Python. So what we need to do is to create the vehicle class. We need to create the properties. And we need to create a method called showDetails that will display the content of the properties. Having done that, we then need to create an object in the main program and make use of the showDetails command. So we're now going to transition over into Python and get all of this done. So remember, in Python, it is the class keyword followed by the name of the class, which in this case is vehicle. And then we have a colon. In order to create the properties, we need to make use of the init command or the init method. Whenever we are creating a function, we precede it with the def keyword. So we're defining a function, and the function in this case is the init function. So def underscore underscore init underscore underscore, and we need the parameter list. And one thing that we need to take into the parameter list is this thing called self. Remember, self allows us to refer to the vehicle itself. We put a colon to indicate that we're now going to define the body of the function. And then we're going to attach each property to the self keyword. So self.length is assigned 5, and self.width is assigned 10. Also, please remember the importance of indentation. So because these two commands, where we are assigning the property to the class, are found within the init command, then it means that they have to be indented. Let's test this so far to see whether or not there are any errors. And we execute, we are seeing the hello world, which means that so far we have not generated any errors in terms of syntax. So what we're going to do next is to now flesh out the showDetails command. So what we have just done in Python is to set up the properties, the length and width properties with 5 and 10 respectively. So we are now going to create our showDetails method. So once again, it's a method, it's a function. So we started with the def keyword. And then the name of the module or the method is going to be showDetails. We open the bracket. And in Python, all of the methods will come with the keyword self as the very first parameter. Once again, we put the colon, and then we go ahead now and define the body of the showDetails method. So let's use the print keyword. We're going to be using a formatted string. And in this case, we are saying that length, length, colon, space. And then we are now going to define the variable that we want to print, or the property that we want to print, which in this case is going to be self.length. Remember, when getting access to any property over here in Python, we need to use the self keyword before we specify the property. So it is self keyword dot and then the property name. We need to place the end in double quotes. And we are going to do a similar thing for width. So we can copy that command. We can paste it, ensure that it's indented properly. And then we change the inner values to reflect what we want it to reflect. So the prompt here is with colon and a space. And then the property is going to be self dot with. So we have set up the basic structure for the class. Once again, let's execute and ensure that we still get our hello world being printed, which indicates that we do not have any syntax errors so far. And now it's time to create our object. So we go to the main program. The object name was V. So V is equal to then the name of the class, which in this case is vehicle. And then we are now going to make use of the show details command by saying v.show details. Remember, it's a function. So we have the parentheses at the end, and then we are now going to run. And once again, we are now seeing over here in Python, we have displayed the length is 5, and we have also displayed that the width is 10. So from the basic standpoint, we have gotten both programs to work based on our initial concept of what must obtain as we work through the problem. Another thing that becomes important now is that we might want the user to enter the length and the width as parameters. Right now, this is not set up for that, but we are going to address that in the next session when we finish fleshing out the classes. So for now, I would strongly encourage that you take some time and you reproduce what has been done here. And you experiment so that you get a better appreciation of both C++, syntax, how to get things done, and also Python, the syntax, and how to get things done.